They tell you to follow the crowd. He never does. They say fit in, he walks out. They call it rebellion, he calls it truth. The Sigma male is not defined by noise, attention, or applause. He doesn't chase validation or broadcast his every move to win approval. Instead, his strength lies in his silence, his independence, and his ability to see the world for what it is. An elaborate stage where most people play parts written by someone else. While the majority seek comfort in conformity, the Sigma thrives in solitude, where he is free to think, question, and dismantle illusions. He's not interested in the latest trends, the social hierarchies, or the endless competition to be somebody. Not because he's trying to rebel, but because he sees the game for what it is, a system built to distract, control, and pacify. In psychological terms, the Sigma is an embodiment of the someone who's driven not by social approval, but by inner truth. He questions what others accept without a second thought. While the masses absorb narratives handed down through media, culture, and tradition, the Sigma dissects them, pulling them apart to see what they're really made of. This mindset is rooted in high critical thinking and strong self-awareness, traits often linked to lone wolves in psychology and leadership studies. He doesn't rage against the machine, he simply walks away from it, and that unnerves people. His calm, detached clarity cuts through social noise like a scalpel, and in a world that thrives on groupthink, manipulation, and shallow identity, someone who doesn't play by the script becomes a threat. Not because he attacks the system, but because he's proof that you don't need it. As we peel back the layers of mass-believed lies, remember this. The Sigma doesn't need to scream the truth. His very existence whispers it loud enough. And that whisper, that's what makes people turn, stare, and wonder what he knows that they don't. Belief one, you need to be constantly social to be successful. The world often equates extroversion with influence. We're told that the loudest voice commands the room, that charisma equals leadership, and that success is found in constant connection. But the Sigma male quietly rewrites that narrative. For him, power isn't measured in volume. It's measured in clarity, intention, and depth. In a culture obsessed with being seen, the Sigma thrives in the unseen. Solitude isn't his punishment, it's his forge. Where others dread silence, fearing it might echo back their insecurities, the Sigma finds a signal in the quiet, a refined frequency that tunes him into his purpose. Neuroscience even backs this up. Studies show that time spent in solitude improves memory, boosts creativity, and strengthens focus by giving the brain uninterrupted space to reflect and rewire. While the extroverted world chases endless conversations and surface-level validation, the Sigma male uses his time alone to master his craft. He doesn't waste hours impressing strangers at social events. He invests those hours in building systems, refining skills, and constructing a life on his terms. Think of innovators like Nikola Tesla or introverted strategists like Warren Buffett. Men who didn't seek the spotlight but became icons because they mastered the art of focus and deliberate thinking. The Sigma doesn't resist the world, he simply walks through it differently. His quiet is not emptiness, it's incubation. His distance is not detachment, it's precision. He may appear indifferent to the buzz of the crowd, but beneath that still surface is a mind that's constantly observing, learning, and adapting. While others are distracted by popularity contests, he's busy building empires behind the scenes. Society may praise extroversion for its charm, but the Sigma male proves that silence can be just as commanding when it's backed by substance, strategy, and self-mastery. In a world that mistakes noise for strength, the Sigma's power lies in his ability to remain still, think deeply, and act decisively. Belief 2, emotions should guide your decisions. Sigma males don't reject emotion, they master it. In a world that often tells men to either suppress their feelings or drown in them, the Sigma male walks an entirely different path. He doesn't shove emotions into the dark corners of his psyche, nor does he allow them to run wild and dictate his every move. Instead, he studies them, understands their roots, and uses them as data points rather than commands. Neuroscience confirms that emotions are closely tied to decision-making, especially in the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. But while most people are ruled by the impulses triggered in those brain regions, the Sigma male activates the higher reasoning centers to stay calm, collected, and in control. Society tends to give men two options: be as hard as stone or as soft as water, completely shut down emotionally or become emotionally reactive. But the Sigma is neither. He is fire. Not destructive and reckless, but focused and purposeful. Fire transforms, refines, and only consumes what is necessary. The Sigma uses his inner flame to burn away distractions, fuel ambition, and illuminate the truth of who he is. He doesn't lash out in anger. He channels that energy into strategy. He doesn't freeze in fear. He turns that fear into fuel for growth. He doesn't run from pain. He interrogates it, learns from it, and moves forward stronger. What sets the Sigma apart is his refusal to be emotionally manipulated. While others may cave under pressure, guilt, or societal expectations, he follows the path dictated by truth, not trends. He knows that raw emotion, unchecked, can lead people to betray themselves, but when mastered, emotions become a compass that guides him inward, toward clarity. Entertainment media often paints emotionally detached men as either villains or broken souls. But the Sigma is neither. He feels deeply but rarely shows it unless there's purpose behind the reveal. He's not heartless, he's disciplined, he's not cold, he's precise. The Sigma male's emotional intelligence lies not in how loudly he feels, but in how silently and effectively he moves through those feelings, always anchoring himself in what is real, what is right, and what is necessary. This is not denial. It is domination of the self, and in that mastery he becomes unstoppable. Belief 3, you need approval to be worthy. Likes, followers, compliments. In today's hyper-connected world, these have become society's new currency, metrics by which people measure their worth, popularity, and even success. But the Sigma male walks an entirely different path. He isn't driven by the fleeting buzz of digital validation or the applause of the crowd. His wealth isn't external, it's internal. It's the wealth of self-awareness, of knowing who he is when no one's watching. He doesn't perform to be liked, nor does he curate his personality for approval. While others chase trends and contort their image to fit social molds, the Sigma male remains anchored in authenticity. He doesn't bend to be liked. He doesn't shift to be seen. His self-respect isn't up for negotiation, and his values aren't compromised for attention. Psychology supports this mindset. Research on intrinsic motivation reveals that individuals who derive their sense of worth from internal goals, like personal growth or autonomy, tend to have higher well-being and are less susceptible to anxiety or depression than those chasing external validation. For the Sigma, being misunderstood is a price he's willing to pay for his integrity. It's not because he thinks he's better than others, but because he knows the danger of living for likes. It's a slippery slope to self-abandonment. That's not arrogance, it's armor. Armor forged in solitude, shaped by reflection and worn not to repel others, but to protect what's sacred within. He's aware that popularity can be purchased, but authenticity must be earned, and sometimes earned in silence. He doesn't feel the need to explain himself or seek the crowd's approval because his compass isn't pointing outward, it's pointed within. This rare independence can confuse others, even intimidate them, because it exposes just how much of the average person's identity is borrowed from the outside world. The Sigma male is a reminder that there is a deeper, quieter power in walking alone, not in bitterness, but in clarity. In a world addicted to being seen, he's focused on seeing himself clearly, and that clarity is more valuable than any number of followers, likes, or empty praise. Belief 4, you must constantly explain yourself. The world is obsessed with explanations, craving reasons, justifications, and endless dialogue to make sense of someone's choices. But the Sigma male operates by a different code. He understands that true clarity doesn't require confirmation. If he chooses to exit a conversation, leave a job, or walk away from a relationship, he does so with calm resolve, not as an act of rebellion, but as a declaration of sovereignty. He doesn't feel the need to draft emotional essays or offer long-winded speeches about why he made that decision. Why? Because he knows that often, the more you explain, the more others try to challenge, manipulate, or control your reasoning. The act of explaining becomes an invitation, an open door for people to inject their opinions, twist your truth, or try to negotiate your boundaries. Sigma males deny that entry. Silence for them is not awkward, it is powerful. It becomes the loudest message in a world addicted to noise. Psychology even backs this up. Studies show that assertive individuals who operate with emotional independence often speak less and act more. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. It's a deep understanding that those who truly understand you don't need explanations, and those who demand them often don't care about your truth. They just want control over your decision-making process. In refusing to explain, the Sigma male reclaims his autonomy. He doesn't ghost out of immaturity. He disappears because staying would compromise his peace. And while others scramble to make sense of his absence, he's already moved on to the next purpose-driven path. His silence becomes a mirror, forcing others to face their own discomfort, their own insecurities, their own need for external validation. That's the thing about Sigmas. They don't seek applause, agreement, or approval. Their compass is internal, their decisions calculated, their exit deliberate. They live by a rare law of inner authority that doesn't beg to be understood. In a world where people are constantly broadcasting their every thought, the Sigma male chooses mystery. And in doing so, he remains one of the most misunderstood and most powerful figures in modern social psychology. Belief 5. You must respond to disrespect immediately. Some think that reacting fiercely to every insult or confrontation is a sign of strength, a way to assert dominance and earn respect. But the Sigma male knows better. He understands a deeper truth. Real power lies in restraint, not reaction. While the world teaches you to respond with emotion, to bark back louder when challenged, the Sigma moves in silence. He doesn't flinch when provoked because his confidence isn't fragile. It isn't tied to public opinion or ego battles. Instead, he wields emotional control like a weapon. Studies in psychology have shown that emotional regulation, the ability to pause and choose your response, is a mark of advanced self-awareness and intelligence. And this is the Sigma's natural state. When someone disrespects him, he doesn't waste time crafting the perfect comeback or trying to win the crowd. He simply removes himself. Distance becomes his statement. In a society obsessed with confrontation and constant validation, his silence speaks louder than any shouted defense. This isn't weakness, it's strategy. The Sigma knows that attention is a currency, and he won't spend it on what doesn't serve him. He vanishes not because he's defeated, but because he's already won by refusing to play a pointless game. His detachment is unsettling to others because they can't manipulate what they can't provoke. And in that silence, the Sigma rewrites the rules of engagement. He proves that the most dangerous man in any room is not the loudest, not the angriest, but the one who doesn't need to prove a thing and still comes out on top. He's not looking for applause or revenge. His greatest revenge is elevation, moving forward, growing stronger, and letting others drown in their own chaos. The Sigma isn't reactive because he knows that reaction gives others control. Instead, he observes, calculates, and if necessary, disappears. And in that disappearance, there is power. Because while everyone else is still arguing, he's already on to greater things. That's what makes him unstoppable. Belief 6, power comes from dominating others. The alpha flexes, the beta submits, the Sigma calculates. In a world that obsesses over dominance and submission, the Sigma male breaks the pattern entirely. He's not the loudest in the room, nor is he the most agreeable, but he is often the most unsettling to those around him. Why? Because he plays a different game altogether. While alphas try to control people with force and betas seek approval through compliance, the Sigma controls only one thing: his presence. His emotional detachment is not a sign of weakness or lack of interest. It's a form of power, a conscious choice rooted in deep self-awareness. When he walks away, the silence he leaves behind can echo louder than any words shouted by an alpha. Studies in social dynamics show that people respond more intensely to unpredictability than to direct confrontation. This is why the Sigma's withdrawal often triggers more reflection and emotional response than any aggressive move. It's the psychology of absence. When something rare or mysterious is taken away, its value intensifies. The Sigma understands this on a strategic level. He doesn't burn bridges, he disappears into the fog, leaving others to question their own actions. His detachment isn't coldness, it's calibration. He knows when to lean in and, more importantly, when to step back. The calmness he carries isn't just composure, it's a warning. He's not invested in winning your approval, and that unsettles people used to validation-based power structures. This isn't to say he's emotionless. On the contrary, he feels deeply but rarely shows it, and that emotional control makes him both mysterious and magnetic. People can't quite figure him out. And in a world addicted to labels and certainty, that mystery becomes power. He's not in the crowd nor against it. He's simply beyond it. While others perform, he observes. While others argue, he calculates. While others chase attention, he disappears, only to return stronger, more refined, and more dangerous. The Sigma doesn't conquer through confrontation. He conquers through absence. And sometimes the loudest statement a man can make is his silence. Belief 7, you need to be part of a group to be safe. Herd mentality says stick together or perish. But the Sigma walks alone by choice, not exile. In a world where belonging is often equated with survival, the Sigma male defies the narrative, not out of rebellion, but out of deliberate understanding. While society teaches us to seek validation, support, and comfort in the group, the Sigma has discovered that his greatest strength is cultivated in solitude. Unlike alpha males who dominate social structures or betas who find identity through them, the Sigma steps off the path entirely. He knows that crowds often follow illusions, echoing each other's thoughts without question, like schools of fish darting in fear or tribes forming consensus without reflection. The Sigma, on the other hand, takes the slower, more dangerous route of independent thought. This doesn't mean he's antisocial or emotionally cold. On the contrary, he deeply understands human connection. He just doesn't need it to feel whole. His relationships are chosen, not required. He may build powerful alliances with others, but never becomes entangled in the emotional dependencies that come with attachment. Psychological studies show that solitude, when chosen voluntarily, increases creativity, emotional resilience, and cognitive clarity. The Sigma uses this solitude not to escape the world, but to sharpen his perspective. He becomes a master observer, watching, understanding, and strategically engaging when necessary. He doesn't isolate out of bitterness, but out of clarity. In doing so, he becomes the outlier, the variable the system can't control. His detachment is not a shield, but a strategy. And while the herd panics at the thought of being left behind, the Sigma thrives in the quiet spaces they fear. The world may call him a mystery, a lone wolf, or even an enigma, but for him, this life is not a curse, it's freedom. He walks alone, not because no one will walk with him, but because the path he chooses simply doesn't allow for crowds. Belief 8, stay safe, avoid risk, play it smart. The Sigma male isn't reckless, but he's not ruled by comfort either. Unlike the average man who often chooses the safety of routine over the uncertainty of growth, the Sigma male willingly steps into discomfort if it brings him closer to truth. His journey isn't about playing it safe, it's about chasing something real, even if it means walking alone. He'll walk through fire if it leads to freedom, not because he's immune to fear, but because he refuses to let fear dictate his decisions. Psychologists describe this mindset as high self-direction and autonomy, traits linked to greater personal fulfillment and psychological resilience. He understands that personal evolution doesn't happen in the safety zone. It happens in solitude, in trial, and in honest confrontation with oneself. The Sigma male risks being misunderstood, judged, or even abandoned, not out of rebellion, but out of devotion to his path of self-discovery. He doesn't chase legacy with a need for applause or external validation. Instead, he builds his legacy in silence, through restraint, excellence, and calculated moves. Studies in behavioral psychology show that individuals who operate with long-term vision and impulse control are more likely to achieve higher life satisfaction and success. That's the Sigma's playground. Every action he takes is intentional, unhurried, and often unnoticed by the crowd. He doesn't need to be seen to feel valuable. He doesn't need noise to feel alive. While the world rushes to be heard, he listens. While others seek attention, he seeks mastery. His life is the performance, quiet, powerful, and unforgettable. It's a masterpiece unfolding behind closed doors. He may not dominate boardrooms with charisma or flood social feeds with curated perfection, but he influences through presence, through energy, and through the sheer weight of his authenticity. He's not trying to be different. He just is. The Sigma male isn't trying to escape the system. He simply refuses to be controlled by it. His freedom is internal, his discipline is fierce, and his silence. That's where the real power lies. While the world watches for fireworks, the Sigma becomes the storm in the distance, unpredictable, undeniable, and unforgettable. These 8 beliefs are widely accepted by society without question, almost like default settings in the human operating system. But the Sigma male doesn't operate on pre-installed software. He questions every line of code. In a world that rewards conformity and punishes deviation, the Sigma chooses autonomy over approval. While others seek validation, he seeks truth. He isn't rebellious for attention, nor is he detached for drama. He simply refuses to live by second-hand thoughts. Psychology even shows that independent thinkers often face resistance, but they're also the ones who innovate and lead revolutions quietly. The Sigma male walks the road less traveled, not because it's fashionable, but because it's honest. While the world rushes toward noise, he steps back into silence. And in doing so, he becomes magnetic without effort. Stay curious, be unseen, be unfazed, be unforgettable, not by trying to stand out, but by refusing to blend in.